I was actually going to ask you about Wall Street Journal and Murdoch taking it over. What do you think about the deal? What do you think really holds for it?
Well, Rupert Murdoch apparently will talk about nothing else at the moment. He's obsessed with the journal, and I think he really, he wants to make a big impact. He's getting on in age, though he'll probably live for a long while, but he wants to move quickly to make a big change. And I think what you'll see is it'll become a more exciting paper, it'll become a more dynamic paper, it'll become a more accessible paper, and all of that will be on the plus side. On the minus side, you will never quite know if some of the business stories it's carrying suit Murdoch's agenda or are inspired by Murdoch. He knows he can't go too far on that, because the further he goes, he will damage the franchise. Because the franchise in a business paper, above all, depends on independence and integrity. But he won't be able to stop himself from giving the news a nudge in his direction. It won't be as bad as, basically the business pages of the New York Post, which are mainly all about media business, are essentially his own private platform to launch exocets at anybody who's happened to cross him and to cause mischief. He won't do that, he's not stupid, that would destroy the journal. But it will lose that total impartiality and integrity, I would suspect.
That can't be a good thing.
Not in the long run, but it's a swings and roundabouts. The journal has been badly run. The existing management have missed just about every opportunity that came up and hit them on the face. Murdoch will stir that up a bit, and the Chinese wall that exists in American journalism between the editorial pages, where you have one editor, and the news pages, where you have a separate editor. So the theory being that the editorial line the paper is taking has no influence on the news that you carry. That's a very American approach to things. The Times has that, the Washington Post, LA Times. So that won't survive Murdoch. There will not be a Chinese wall between the editorial pages. He won't need to change the editorial pages because he agrees with them all. He said to me once, reading the editorials in the journal was like having a strong cup of caffeine in the morning. Got him going and told him what to think for the day. But I think you will see more the news agenda, the news approach, the emphasis of the news pages being guided, motivated by the editorial line. After all, he does that in every other newspaper he owns. Why would the journal be different?
How long has he coveted it? Way back when you...
Well, he's always wanted a major financial paper. People forget that he did try to buy the Financial Times. And indeed, at one stage, I think it was in the late 80s, he owned 20% of the FT. And I think he would have been prepared to sell the Times in Britain in order to get the Financial Times. He always wanted... Remember, he's a global media giant, and the Financial Times and the Journal are global in a way that the Times of London is not. So he's always like that. He's obsessed with business and finance. If he's not talking politics, he's talking business. And he's always wanted a franchise. He went for the FT. They saw him off. Quite interesting. The sort of old-fashioned blue bloods at the FT in these days, Lord Blakenham and so on, they saw him off. And I think if he'd had to choose, he didn't really like the FT. He thinks the FT's run, he thinks it's not just the colour of the paper that's pink. He thinks all the journalists are a bunch of pinkulous as well. He used to agree, Norman Tebbit used to go around saying there are more communists in the Financial Times than there are in the Morning Star. And I would just laugh. But Murdoch used to agree with him. So he loved the FT, but even more he would have wanted the Journal. The Journal is much more his cup of tea in terms of the editorial line, and it's American, and he's now fundamentally American. It's in New York, he's a New Yorker, so he's got what he really wanted. FT would have been an also-ran, would have been second prize.
This is the jewel.
He got the first prize, and it's the first really true global franchise newspaper that he's owned. Now he's got it, and it comes at a time when he's big in the net. He understands the importance of financial news to the net. It's the one thing you may be prepared to pay for, but also it fits in with his latest TV ambitions, which is he's just launched Fox Financial News in America. So it's a typical, it shows the ability of Murdoch to realize that everything now has to be multi-platform. So the Journal now will be multi-platform in the sense it'll be the traditional newspaper, it'll be the website, but it'll also be on television.